People say death knocks once. In Aketu, death didn't knock. It walked freely through homes, farms, and dreams. This is the story of a man who claimed he could see death before it arrived. A man who promised life in exchange for money. A man who rose from nothing, not by sweat, but by lies. His name was Akin. And this is how his shortcuts led him straight into the hands of death itself. In the small village of Aketu, where the ground was red like dried blood and every morning the air rang with the steady thump of hoes digging the earth, there lived a man called Akin. Akin was known for one thing: he hated hard work. He didn't farm. He didn't trade in the market. He didn't learn any skill, no blacksmithing, no palm wine tapping like the other young men. When hunger clawed at his belly, he'd sigh and say, "It's fate." When people laughed at him, he'd shrug, "Bad luck." When the elders shook their heads and told him to work, he'd blame the gods and say there were no opportunities. His father died young. His mother bent her back every single day just to put food in their mouths. But Akin, he refused to lift a finger to help her. He kept muttering the same thing: there must be an easy way to get money. So poverty clung to him like a shadow. By the time he was a full-grown man, all he owned was one thing: torn sleepy mat and a heart heavy with anger. Then came one very hungry night. Akin couldn't sleep. His stomach growled, his mat offered no comfort, and dark thoughts filled his head. He rose quietly, slipped out of the village, and walked toward the bush near the river, that forbidden, shadowy place no one dared enter after sunset. The elders always warned, spirits walk there when the moon is thin, and sometimes death itself passes by. He sat beneath an old, twisted tree, staring at the black water. For a moment he thought of simply walking into the river and letting it end everything. Then something moved in the thick shadows between the reeds. A tall figure stepped forward. His skin was dry and cracked, like old tree bark forgotten in the sun. His eyes were cold, empty, like bottomless wells. "I am a messenger of death," the person said, voice low and calm. "I know who would die next. I know how they would die." He paused, staring straight into Akin's frightened eyes. "And today is not the day you, Akin, would die." Fear seized Akin's heart, but only for a heartbeat. Hunger and desperation were stronger. He stayed still. He listened. The demon, for that is truly what it was, though Akin didn't know it yet, spoke quietly. He shared secrets, the small signs death leaves before it arrives. A cough that never stops. A leg that suddenly weakens. A bad dream that repeats 3 nights in a row. A bird that lands on the roof and refuses to fly away. "Watch for these," the demon said. "Know them, and you will know when death is near." Before the first light of dawn touched the sky, the demon stepped back into the shadows and vanished, like smoke swallowed by the wind. Akin sat there alone, breathing hard. His face slowly changed into something else. Something sharp. Something greedy. A dangerous plan took root in his heart, like a poisonous seed. He had met something that knew tomorrow's sorrows. And now he wanted to use it. A few days later, an old hunter was walking through the market when he suddenly clutched his chest and fell. But the night before, Akin had already gone deep into the bush. In the thick darkness, under a thin moon, he met the demon again. "Who would die next?" he asked, voice trembling with greed. "How will it happen?" The demon answered coldly, "The old hunter. His heart will stop tomorrow in the market." The next morning, Akin stood boldly in the busy market square. Before anything happened, he raised his hands and called out loud enough for every ear to hear. "Listen, people of Aketu. Death is coming today. He passed by the old hunter's house last night. I saw it clearly. The hunter will fall before the sun sets." People turned. Some laughed. "Lazy Akin thinks he's a prophet now," they mocked. "Go farm like a real man." But that same afternoon, right in the middle of the crowd, the old hunter grabbed his chest, collapsed, and died before help could come. Silence fell heavy. Eyes widened. Whispers flew. "He warned us, he really told us before it happened." From that day on, it never stopped. Every night, while the village slept, Bamadil slipped into the bush. He met the demon in the shadows and asked the same fearful questions. Who dies next? How? When? The demon always answered. And every time, before the tragedy struck, Akin would walk the path or stand in the market and announce it. To the pregnant woman in the red wrapper, death is near your door today. Prepare your heart. She died in childbirth that evening. To the family of the playful small child, death calls a child's name tonight. Keep him away from the river. The child slipped in and drowned the next day. To the farmer sharpening his axe, death waits under the big Iroko tree today. The one who cuts it will be crushed. The tree fell wrong that afternoon, and the farmer was gone. Every single time, Akin spoke before death came. His words always came true. Fear spread like fire in dry grass. People stopped mocking him. They began to fear him. Children hid when he passed. Elders lowered their voices. Soon, desperate villagers knocked softly at his door after dark, holding lanterns and small offerings. Akin, they whispered, tell us, who would die next in my family? Can you beg death to pass us by? We will pay anything, please. Akin looked at them slowly, his heart now thick with greed. Yes, he said. I can ask. I can try to turn death away. But you must bring money, food, animals, whatever you have. And so it began, the rise of the man who seemed to know tomorrow's sorrows. He never had real signs. He never had true power. He only had a dangerous demon in the dark bush feeding him the village's coming tragedies, and a crowd that now believed he could cheat death. Money came fast, like rain after drought. Akin left his leaking hut and built a big compound with high walls and a wide gate. He married one wife, then another, then more, 7 in all. His first wife, Abeni, the one who stood by him when he had nothing, stayed quiet. She watched with sad, knowing eyes. People changed. Children fell silent when he walked by. Old men greeted him with lowered heads. Women whispered his name with fear and hope. He stood tall in the market. Bring me your offerings, money, yams, goats, and I will speak to death for you. I will beg him to pass your house by. But death does not listen to money. Death does not bow to promises. People who paid him still died, fever, accidents, old age. At first, families said, it is God's will. We cannot fight what is written. But soon questions came, quiet then loud. Why didn't he save my brother? Why did death ignore his promises? Why do the ones who paid the most still lie cold? Then the deepest wound. Sod, his youngest wife, the one he loved most, fell very sick. She was beautiful, gentle, always smiling, the light of his house. Akin ran to the bush night after night, begging the demon. Tell me how to save her. Name the price, anything. But in 3 cruel days, Sod drew her last breath. Akin cried like a lost child, body shaking on the floor. Abeni held him silently, tears on her face, but even she could not mend the break inside him. The village felt the storm coming. One dark night, while Akin sat alone in his once proud house, the door burst open. The wise women of Aketu entered, not evil, but the good ones, the keepers of ancient knowledge. Healers who knew every herb. Readers of signs. Speakers to the ancestors. They protected the people quietly, without show, without riches. Only they had earned the right to see death's footsteps. Tonight their eyes burned with righteous anger. Voices like thunder. Dark wrappers, white chalk marks of truth and justice on their faces. They dragged Akin into the moonlight, formed a circle. Smoke rose from their small fire. You thief of trust, one called. You liar who sells false hope, another said. You claim power that belongs only to us and the ancestors. Akin tried to stand tall, legs shaking. I'm not lying, he shouted. I met death himself in the bush. Face to face. He told me everything. The wise women laughed, not cruelly, but with the pity of those who see a child playing with fire. The oldest, hair white as cotton, eyes heavy with seasons, stepped forward. "Child of the village," she said softly, "but with power, you did not meet death. You met a demon, a deceiver wearing death's shadow. He feeds on your greed and the fear you spread. He is not the true harvester of souls." She pointed one steady hand at his chest. "When next you call that demon," she said, "ask him these 3 questions. Ask only these 3. Do not ask a 4th, or darkness will swallow you whole." She spoke them slowly, each word heavy. "Where do people go after they die? When the whole world ends and everyone is gone, what happens to death? Who is death?" Akin opened his mouth to argue, but she raised her palm. The fire flared, then sank. The air grew thick. "Go," she said gently, firmly. "Test what you call death. See what answers come. Then you will know the truth, and perhaps save what is left of your soul." The good woman turned and walked into the night, leaving only dying embers and a man on his knees, pride broken, fear rising like floodwater. A few nights later, heart pounding, Akin returned to the bush. The demon appeared, same cold eyes, same dry skin. "Where do people go after they die?" Akin asked, voice trembling. "Nowhere," the demon said smoothly. "Death is the end. Nothing remains. When the whole world ends and everyone is gone, what happens to death?" "Death never dies," the demon answered. "Death is forever." 3rd question, the one that broke everything. "Who is death?" Silence. The demon's face twisted. Eyes flickered like a dying lamp. Without a word, he vanished into the shadows. Akin stood alone in the dark. The truth sank in like cold water. Death is the true name, the real harvester no lie can fool, no bribe can turn away. Something inside him cracked forever. Soon after, word spread like poison. The truth was out, Akin was no prophet, just a fool tricked by darkness. A man named Olu came, eyes red from weeping, carrying his young daughter's limp body. "You took my last coins," he roared. "You swore she would live. You said death would pass her by." Villagers gathered, mothers with fists clenched, fathers with hard stares. They had all paid. All hoped. Now they saw betrayal. Anger exploded. They dragged the king out. He begged, it was the demon. "He lied to me too." No one listened. Fists flew. Feet kicked. Sticks cracked bone. They beat him until his body twisted wrong, blood darkening the red earth. They left him alive, barely, gasping in the dust. As they left, the old saying echoed. "Every day is for the thief. But one day belongs to the owner." Akin crawled inside, broken. Sickness came fast, fever like fire, pain without rest. His wives fled one by one, taking what remained. The second whispered, "You brought this curse." The third spat on the floor. His children were taken away. The big compound became empty, rooms echoing wind, dust like forgotten memories. Only Ebony stayed a little longer. She sat by his mat, wiping his brow, eyes full of quiet pity. "You could have been a good man," she said softly. "We could have built something real, with love and hard work." But even she could bear no more. With tears, she kissed his forehead one last time and left him utterly alone. In his fever, as death's shadow crept near, the real death came, not the pretending demon, but the true one, heavy, cold, final, filling the room like thick smoke. In a dream more real than waking, Akin asked, "Is death the end?" "No," death answered, voice like grinding stones. "It is the beginning of another journey, one of judgment and endless regret for those like you. When the world ends and everyone is gone, what happens to death? Death will die at last. Only God will remain, pure and eternal." "Who is death?" "I am death," the figure said, leaning close so Akin felt the chill. "I am the real death, the one you mocked, the one no lie can escape." Akin woke screaming, throat raw, sweat soaking his mat. The dream clung like chains. Too weak to stay, he fled Aketu in the dead of night, a limping shadow carrying pain and shame. Village after village turned him away. Strangers saw madness in his eyes, curses on his back. Olu's words followed like a ghost. You will die where no one knows your name. You will lose everything. You will suffer till the end. In a far, dusty place called Atem, under a merciless sun, Akin collapsed by the roadside. His body gave out, legs useless, breath ragged, mind shattered by memories of Soda's smile, Abani's goodbye, his mother's weary face he ignored. Passers-by thought him a mad beggar, raving of demons and death. They threw stones, laughed at his cries. No one helped. No one cared. He lay alone for days, hunger twisting, thirst cracking, insects crawling. In his final hours, he whispered apologies to the empty air, to his mother, to Sod, to the village he betrayed. But it was too late. Death came quietly, without mercy, and took him. They left his body on the roadside, rotting in the heat, picked by birds, forgotten by the world. No burial. No rites. No name spoken in honor. Only silence, and wind scattering his dust like worthless sand. He could have walked honestly, hands in the soil, building a life of truth. He could have helped his mother, cherished his wives, and raised his children with love. Instead, he chased easy lies and false power. And in the end, they destroyed him completely, body, heart, and soul. So remember, my friends, hard work may be slow, but it builds something lasting. Lies may seem fast and sweet, but they always catch up, sharper than any knife. And death. Death cannot be cheated. It waits for us all, and for the wicked, it comes with endless sorrow.